Okay, look, I have to say you can't probably say the most because, it's all kind of relative and there's different takes and opinions and different people have different perspectives. But I would like to say that there is a herb that I think is not really fully appreciated as to its clinical potential and its reliability, and is the seed of the horse chestnut. So yeah, we know it's good for varicose veins and this varicose symptom complex, venous insufficiency where you're getting leg pain and fluid and discoloration. Yeah, it's great for that. I mean, it won't turn a 70-year-old person's legs into those of a 20-year-old, but it will help them with their symptoms and will stop them maybe forming ulcers that won't heal, varicose ulcers. So with this use for veins is supported by high level evidence. There's even a positive Cochrane review on it, but that's not actually the area where I'm thinking it's underestimated. The first thing it was traditionally used for hemorrhoids, for piles, and it's so certain in its activity. I have never. I use it in combination with in tablet form. Now, the reason why I use it in I sometimes put it in liquid, but the reason why I use it in tablet form is it's a high saponin herb, and it can cause the gastric irritation and give people reflux. So the tablet I use is enteric coated, so it doesn't dissolve in the stomach and have that problem. So that gives me a greater reliability in terms of compliance when I use it in that form. So I use it in combination with butcher's broom, another great vein herb, and the ginkgo. But the horse chestnut in that formula is doing the heavy lifting. And especially when it comes to hemorrhoids, that formula has never failed me. Every patient I've given that formula to comes back and says, yeah, it's helped. The degree of help varies, of course, uh, but it's always been positive feedback, 100%. And except for one case, but this case actually does prove the principle. I had a patient come to see me and she said she had a diagnosis of hemorrhoids. So without questioning her further, because it was kind of an add-on at the end of the consultation, we were talking about, and she said, oh, by the way, I've just been diagnosed with hemorrhoids. Can you do anything? And so I said, yeah, here, take this couple of tablets a day. This should fix it. She came back and I said, how the hemorrhoids, full of confidence, thinking, yeah, this is a done deal. She said, oh, there's no change. If anything, it's a bit worse. So I sort of reflected on it briefly, but only briefly, and said to her, I don't think you have hemorrhoids. That's how confident I am that this will work. I don't think you have hemorrhoids. So I said, go back and just confirm the diagnosis. So when she went back and she had a proper diagnosis done, no, she did not have hemorrhoids. Her symptoms were due to an anal tear. And of course, the horse chestnut won't help the anal tear. So that's how reliable it is. But look, it even goes to the next level because when I was a student in the UK, the most of the really important herbal research at the time was coming out of Germany. And so I was looking at all the German research and they developed, a range of evidence-based at the time, because we're talking here early 1980s, so evidence is, a lot better now. But at the time, there was this range of evidence-based herbal products. So given my scientific background, were fascinating me. So I wanted to learn more about them. And I get things in German and I get people who can speak German because I can't, only rudimentarily, they translate. And they were giving the active component of the horse chestnut, which is called ecin, which is the saponin complex, they were giving it by injection to road trauma victims, unconscious people with severe cerebral edema due to the traffic accident. They were injecting the ecin in to reduce the brain edema, to reduce the swelling and help, therefore, recovery and minimize the risk of damage. And this was also in conjunction with a number of other trials where anywhere where there was fluid buildup and edema and swelling, they were using the horse chestnut for it. And the ecin, often given by injection. So I developed this clinical application, and when I say I developed, it really was developed by the Germans. So what I meant was I put it into practice for the herbal version rather than the injected esin, which other people were doing too. Um, for anywhere where soft tissue swelling or edema might be contributing to a person's health problem. So consider a situation like sciatica. What's happening with sciatica? Well, quite often the disc is bulging out. There's inflammation around that bulged disc and it's pressing on the nerve. So if you reduce the swelling and the edema and the fluid builds up, you'll reduce pressure on the nerve and relieve the sciatica. And so I give it in conjunction with, obviously, with anti-inflammatory herbs, bioavailable curcumin. But I've found the horse chestnut really reliable in helping to reduce sciatic pain in combination. Another example is carpal tunnel syndrome. So, people get there's a buildup of tissue around the carpal tunnel, and so the nerves going through get compressed. And especially when they're stationary, like at night when they're asleep, they end up with tingling in their one hand or the other. Ooh, that's an interesting effect. And so I give that to reduce the swelling at the carpal tunnel. And again, it works. Most of the time it works. Repetitive strain injury, again, that's often due to a localized swelling. Trigeminal neuralgia, localized swelling pressing on the nerve. So the horse chestnut in complex works brilliantly for all of those applications. And that to me is something that's highly clinically significant that I'm sad to say, based on the feedback I get, and certainly the amount of horse chestnut I see selling out there, that a lot of practitioners is not on their radar, and hence it's my number one for an underestimated herb.